mean, they had the testimony of Sammy Ramirez, a high up, supposedly high up Nuestra Familia gang member who, supervised the Norteño street gangs. And he provided this theory of the prosecution, which was that there is a green light on the mob gang, and that in order to get that green light lifted, they had to commit crimes, specifically the murder of Sureños.
Sure, how he was tied to their creation. He himself testified that his business partner was Javier Garcia, who was, the evidence showed, a shot caller, a leader of this mob gang.
Nosotros fumamos, chingamos, hackeamos, peleamos, cuetamos, aquí estamos y no los vamos, rifamos todo. ¡Chao! ¡Ahú! ¡Ahú!
I want to welcome you to Gangster Music and Dirty Politics. Now, before I go into today's subject, I want to make it crystal clear that you don't got to participate in any of this hater-ass shit. Be your own man. Be your own person, money. Don't let anybody mislead you or lead you into being a hater with someone you never even met before, money. And don't be so quick to judge somebody if you don't know somebody. Be smart about your shit. You know what I'm saying? With that said, I ask that you go subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you got something stupid and dumb to say, or some ignorant shit to say, or nothing good to say, then don't say nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? So let's move on from there. You feel me? Now, Eastbound locals, money. Exactly how the fuck did Eastbound become a mob gang? You know what I'm saying? And what's transpired from 2001, 2002 when we started kicking it with these cats up to now. Now, I ain't gonna really speak too much on up to now because I know who's over there and all that kind of stuff, but shit has changed a lot and nothing's the same. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's with everything. You know what I'm saying? During the years, money, you know what I'm saying? The first few years that we decided to start pulling Eastsiders, money, we had a gang called Barrio Libre Mob Eastside, and we had homies from that barrio that were already banging east side that were from Libre Mob. We had homies from the north side that were banging Libre Mob and homeboys from the south side that were banging Libre Mob. So at that time, we didn't need a hood on the east, money. You know what I'm saying? We already had that shit. But in 2001, 2002, I guess there was a hood that was on the east side, and there was homeboys from my barrio who had a little bit of say so in the hood at the time that wanted to assist their family members from this other hood. So we went and intervened in a couple of situations, money. Behind doing this, the idea of us getting together with this other hood and putting them under the mob umbrella, making them a mob hood, basically at that time untouchable, because if someone was to fuck with them, then they would get, you know what I'm saying, dealt with in the nastiest way possible. You know what I'm saying? So that time was 2001, 2002. And this is the breakdown of Eastbound Locals. You know what I'm saying? So Eastbound Locals was already an established neighborhood on the east side before they even start fucking with us. You gotta remember that when there's a lot of hoods, because there's a lot of hoods on the east side, and there's a lot of hoods that are just, they're there, but they ain't factors, money. They're like the orphans from the Warriors type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never really heard of them. You know what I mean? And you won't hear about them until you run into somebody. And me, I was a juvie baby, money. So if you banging from a certain neighborhood, I'm going to hear about your hood because I was always in juvenile hall. So if I ain't never heard about your hood and you say you was around for 10 years, I don't know what the fuck your hood was doing, my boy. You know what I'm saying? In those 10 years that I ain't never met not one person from your neighborhood in juvenile hall. you know what I'm saying? Or in county jail, or even on my way to prison and in prison. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of those gangs that I never heard of. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until I was living off of Cunningham and White Road that I had jumped on the bus one time, and there was a vato on there all flamed up, red bandana, all that shit. His name was Payaso. He told me he was from this gang called, Eastbound Locos, and where it was located. And he had got off the bus right there where the Santa Fe Market in Taqueria is at, across the street from the Rob out, from where Westboro was at, right, where there's a hood called BTN. Their area money goes from, as far as Eastbound goes from East Hills, White Road, Story, up to Fleming. That's their territory. At the time that we were, going to hook up with these cats, a lot of cats lived in that neighborhood, from that neighborhood. You feel me? And some of these dudes didn't, they weren't with the mob thing, you know what I'm saying, when they came about. So the reason why it even came about, like I said, is because of family members. Money, it wasn't because we just hooked up with these dudes because we decided to. There was vatos from this neighborhood, Eastbound, and their older cousins from my hood, were nasty. You know what I'm saying? And they handled their business and did what they do, and they lay out fucking cats and all that type of shit. They had hands. So because of this, the hood went and handled a couple of things, money for these cats. And then, because we were around them for a little bit, it started getting put in people's ears about maybe making Eastbound a mob gang. You know what I'm saying? And these dudes wanted to do it strictly because it was family and, let these dudes just, bang the hood. You know what I'm saying? And me, I felt like there's obligations that these fools got to be, put through before they could become a fucking, part of the hood. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to pull a whole neighborhood with a bunch of pussies. We want to make sure that everybody that's going to fucking basically transfer power to the mob and become a mob gang, that if we were to do that, we need to make sure that everybody's going to be on board, and we're not going to recruit some dudes that are going to be going against the grain and, not wanting to do certain shit and all that type of stuff. Because in the hood, there was like a lot of there was a lot of fucking factors it to be from the hood. You know what I mean? You gotta be ready to do a lot of type of shit. You gotta be ready to go to jail. You gotta be ready to put in work. You gotta be ready to poke somebody anywhere, any place, any time. There's a lot of little shit. At that time, I'm saying, as far as as far as meeting like certain type of like gang qualities, money, and what I'm saying, to be from the hood, you gotta be willing to shed blood, basically, money. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was, it's blood in, blood out type of shit. So we let the homies know, you know what I'm saying? We let the homies know if that was gonna happen, and nothing was never settled set in stone. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until one day these dudes were all at a hotel room, because these dudes were always partying with each other. And even from back then, I wasn't too much into all the party shit, money. I handle shit. That's it. I don't party shit. That's not something that I've never really been too much into partying. I really don't give a fuck about that. You know what I'm saying? And so the homies, I partied when I was a youngster, but when it came to hood shit, like I didn't like to mix certain shit with certain shit. You know what I'm saying? So when I go to this fucking hotel party, Eastbound and the mob is there, and the homies are, there's a good amount of homies from the hood that had say so, because in our neighborhood, there was never shot callers. There was always who put in more work, had say so in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And shit like that. If you weren't putting in work, you weren't going in and out. There was like certain shit that put you, higher in the hood to have say so. You feel me? And when I got there, at that time, there was probably like around 10, 15 heads that had say so in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of fuckers doing shit in different types of ways. So when I get there, these dudes already had decided, or thought, they felt like it was the best thing for the hood. And like I said, everything we did for the hood was for the hood, money. Nothing was because of one certain person's interest, money. Of course, we had to grow and we had to force that because some dudes wanted to stay in their Alma area. You know what I'm saying? But I always thought we had to do, I always went by whatever we do is for the hood, money. For the actual hood. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be gone. Other homies are going to be gone. We're not always going to be there. And there's going to be a new tribe coming up inside of there. And it's always going to be like that. The exchange of power, exchange of power, exchange of power. And because of that, money, we have to do shit for the hood, homie. Because like I said, at some point, we're all going to be gone, but the hood's always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? So because of this, we had to make the best decisions for the hood. Although I felt these dudes were kind of undermining what I was already doing when I had the Body Libre Mob Eastside, this was like something that was like, you know, it was big. It was a big deal. It was a big deal because now we would have a hood on the east side. We would be the first neighborhood to not only establish more than one hood on the west side, but now to establish another hood on the east side. As far as San Jose gangbanging goes, you know what I'm saying? And we were always trying to set trends, man. We were always doing things that nobody else was doing. You know, we were on that fucking, you know, on some LA shit, man, because in LA, the way the gang culture is a little bit different on the whole, you know, jumping over here and over there and setting up different neighborhoods and, you know, all that, and setting up shop in different areas. You know, that's a part of the LA gang culture, you know what I'm saying? So my neighborhood was we kind of utilized and plotted and planned our neighborhood as far as building it around certain gangs in LA and how they went about growing. We kind of took some of their methods and whatnot and applied them to our neighborhood, and that's why we were building different than everybody else in the city. You know what I'm saying? So by doing this, not only do we obtain a gang on the east side, but we gain territory, man. Automatically we get representation on the east side overnight. You know what I'm saying? By making this movida. So although I felt that, you know what I'm saying, these guys are undermining me and they're trying to do some shit just to fucking kill what I'm doing, that didn't matter. I mean, what mattered was the interest of the hood. And at that time, I felt like that was the best interest for the neighborhood. We didn't know who we were bringing in. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know exactly who was who and what they were willing to do for the hood, if they were willing to do anything for the hood. But it came to, like I said, when I got at that hotel and they made this decision that they wanted to try to do this now, and that these dudes from Eastbound agreed to become a mob gang, then, like I said, everything had to be fucking, you know, it had to be signed in fucking blood, money, blood in, blood out. So there was 3 homeboys from the hood and 3 homeboys from Eastbound. We went traveling around on the east side to certain south side neighborhoods until we found some fools. And the 3 homies from the west side, they all had their filos. The homies from the east side, only one had a filo. The other 2 dudes that wanted a filo, they wanted to use a rubber mallet, and one dude had like a little a stick that looked like it came out from a plunger or some shit, man. Like it was like, yeah, I was tripping out. Like, what the fuck? And they didn't want to take a filo with them. Those 2 dudes were out. But we can give us a chance, and they're going with 3 hitters anyways. So they go up in there, money. It comes back. The only one of those dudes from the east, the one who had the filo, he's the only one that got off or did what he did. The other dudes were just looking around. They didn't know what to do. And the other homies, all the homies from the west, you know what I'm saying, which is a different beast, money, because, you know, the east created the beast, money. You know what I'm saying? Because we grew up, you know, with the old-fashioned way of east side, west side didn't like each other. The east side older dudes have always tried to keep, you know, the mob down. They always try to, you know, they've been trying to knock us down since we started. And to have a hood on the east side would be going against everything, and these fools just did not like it at all. A lot of people from the east side were just, you know, they were 100% against that shit. You know what I'm saying? But by us going on the east side and being over there, homie, that's a security fucking measure right there for Sawhome. You know what I'm saying? As far as that's going to keep, you know, the shit mellow on the east side. These fools, anybody comes into the east side and starts getting out of hand, then you're going to have homies from the west and everybody else going over there to the east to secure the area, secure the east side, secure Sawhome. You know what I mean? And that's how the hood was all, you know what I mean, brought about. But when we did that with the east side, like I said, money, I could have easily said no, and it would have been no. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's not about me. It wasn't about what I was doing. It was about the hood. And I wasted a lot of my life trying to build this neighborhood. You feel me? And this was one of them opportunities that we just couldn't pass. You know what I mean? So they became a mob gang, money. We went over there. These fools poke cats. They got them hella nasty, homie. On the way out, G, these motherfuckers run in the car, bat, we fucking bounce. You know what I'm saying? When we bounce, I'm hearing something will happen with it, telling us, okay, then it's done then. You know what I'm saying? The homie from the east side did it. You know what I'm saying? I grabbed one, okay, then, you know, boom, signed in blood, baby. And my head, these other 2 dudes, fuck these other dudes. I mean, they gotta go, homie. They can't even be with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even like them in the car right now. And are you sure they ain't gonna fucking say anything? You know what I'm saying? So, no one got killed, money. Motherfuckers got poked. We went around the block. We're hitting all the fucking side streets, going through the back way. I know all the little east side in that area. And we come out on the street and the hooter gets behind us and his fucking sirens come on, money. You know what I'm saying? But someone had called out the hooters already when that shit had happened, and the ambulance or whatever. And we end up fucking going to the side. As we're going to the side, like everything, and the cops are on us right now, right? But this cop had a siren, the buffers get behind you, and they go around you. Well, we hit a corner and we were about to pull over. Well, before this is happening, inside the car, I'm telling all these dudes to give me their filos. Everybody give me the filos, whatever you use, give them to me. Cause I'm gonna be the first one to jump out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be gone, and it's fucking be about 8, 7 people running. So we want to make sure, you know, so I'm gonna be the first one, Gonzo. I'm gonna be the first one that's gonna secure whatever we had, get rid of it, and make sure that the cops don't fucking, bump into it accidentally or anybody else. And at the same time, everybody, has a chance to get away. There might be 1 or 2 people, but that was also the chance that if one of these other dudes that were with the rubber mallet or the little plunger thing, that, they could fucking tell on us money, because I don't think they were made like that. You feel me? No one got caught. Everybody was good. The cop went right past us. Money, I didn't have to jump out. So I didn't jump the gun and just take off running all crazy. Feel like we could have easily did that in the street, but we weren't, it's a way to do shit. Like I said, it's a way to do everything. You know what I'm saying? And you never want to jump the gun. You give them an opportunity first to go, and then you go. You know what I'm saying? But if they don't go, then they pass you right by, baby. You know what I'm saying? So that happened. They passed us right by, and then we ended up bouncing, going to a certain area, and we got away with that shit, my boy. And Eastbound became the mob. You know what I'm saying? But with that winning, we had to kick out 15 heads. There was around 10, 15 dudes that weren't with it because they didn't like what was going on. See, a lot of these dudes, man, you gotta understand, there's a lot of motherfucking pretty boy gangster motherfuckers. They're not even gangsters. There's a lot of pretty boy Norteños that run around looking pretty, Mongolians wanting to look all in red and go on the weekends and find bitches and do that type of shit. Then you have the regular motherfuckers, the real gang members that are out there hunting. You know what I'm saying? And looking for the enemy and putting in work. Real active motherfuckers. That's what active really means. They everything always grabs and they take out of context now. Like, active don't mean that you went to jail and you didn't go to PC. Active don't mean that you're on the streets wearing red. What the fuck are you doing? If you ain't never been to jail, you ain't been to jail, you ain't fucking active. You know what I'm saying? Active is going in and out, in and out, in and out, putting in mad ass work, fool, running up in motherfucking neighborhoods. That's fucking active. So when I tell you I'm retired, I don't do that shit no more. I'm not in the hood telling these little youngsters to go watch their life away. You know what I'm saying? This is all shit I already did. Like I said, when I do my shit, homie, this isn't about me promoting the lifestyle, gang activity, none of that shit. It's gang awareness, baby. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm letting you know, like, this is all the shit that we did and all the shit you gotta know. This is not just for people that are going to get in the gang, people that live in the gang area. They know how these motherfucking shit goes down. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the mob has always been the gang money that we don't disrespect our community, money. We always have respect for the people within our neighborhood. And really, the mob was only set up at a certain time, and that was all for protection, money. Because we had so many different neighborhoods from the east side and all the south siders running up into our neighborhood on a daily basis, 4, 5, 6 times a day, that, like I said, the east created the beast, money. Along with us going at it with the shoe and all the fools that were around us from down south. You know what I'm saying? And we became what we became. But for anybody to make a comment, like I seen a comment that someone said, those fools, West Side Mob ain't shit, fucking pussies or whatever it is, right? But you got to go back to this one. And before you say stupid ass shit, like the mob has been beefing with all of the city since fucking, let's just say 1990. That's over 30 years. The mob is still there. The mob is over there, over here. It's on the east side. It's on the south side. I'm pretty sure that if the mob was a bunch of fucking pussies or weren't shit or weren't about nothing, then they wouldn't even exist no more, money. So when you make stupid ass comments that don't make no fucking sense, because, the proof is in the pudding, baby. You know what I'm saying? That you have to be able to look at. You know what I'm saying? Look at your motherfucking, your receipts, money. And then that tells you over there alone by itself. If it's still there, then obviously they about some shit. They're doing something right, because that shit ain't falling apart. And that's why everybody attacking it from all sides. The Southsiders, the Mourners, the Norteños, the fucking, the Hudas. You know what I'm saying? Like, just everybody, money. You know what I'm saying? And we never had beef with Africanos, because they ain't never really been big gangs of Africanos. But every Africano gang that we know of, we've always been cool with. You know what I'm saying? So, we never had beef with no Africanos, and that I can say the same thing for the Vietnamese. You know what I'm saying? The Asian gangs, money. We never had no beef with them either. You feel me? And it's always been respectful shit when it comes to them and us and all that type of shit. But when it comes to Eastbound, like I said, money, 15 people left. We kicked out like 15 cats, and we ended up bringing a dude in our body, money named Payaso, who was a fucking informant, G. You know what I'm saying? And he testified against homies from the hood. And I guess what happened was before we even decided to do this merge with Eastbound, this dude Payaso, I guess, had got shot by some fools from CBG, cold-blooded gangsters, and he went and testified against these cats and everything. We didn't know that, so we pulled an informant when we fucking clicked up with these cats. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't even know, money. And this guy ended up fucking off, a lot of people, money. You know what I'm saying? With his little fucking, with that whole fucking snitching shit, money, and got a lot of people caught up. Anyhow, my boy. That happened like that. You feel me? We put that guy, and then it was something, money, that like a lot of these dudes were mob material, money, and you gotta understand, like the mob shit, like there's a lot of expectations. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of little things, homie. You can't leave our neighborhood. The thing with the hood, money, you stay there 5 years, whether you're in prison or coming out. After those 5 years, you can go live your life, and you still got the hood there. That's how it was set up before. Now these new dudes are like, well, they ain't around, they ain't from the hood. Like, motherfucker, we OGs. We from the 90s, fool. We was around way before you were around for way longer period. Going in and out, in and out, in and out. if you don't respect the motherfuckers that laid the fucking ground for you, if you don't respect the motherfuckers who changed the whole fucking shit, then really at the end of the day, why you fucking banging the hood? You know what I'm saying? You should always respect the motherfuckers that laid down the foundation, because the mob was a fucking hated gang by everybody. And me and a bunch of other heads, we changed that shit by force. And if you don't respect all the homies who fucking laid it down, went to jail, disappeared because of everything that we were going through, money, some of us with Mexico hype, if you don't respect all the OGs that laid down the foundation, and you have the fucking nerve to say, fuck that, we ain't seen them, if they ain't here, they ain't got no say so. And, you know, really, at the end of the day, that could apply at the same time. If you want to be a dumb fucking, you don't want to learn nothing, and you think you could run shit and you don't know shit, then you'll run the shit into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Because some people, that's why you have OGs, man. That's why you have your elders. They, you know, the Native Americans, money, they just didn't know when they just grew up and they just threw the chief to the side. The fucking chief was there, homie, to school them down, to give them crecha, so that they could fucking keep the fucking shit going. When he's strong the way it's always been. Once some tyrant comes in and thinks that he knows what he's doing, then he destroys everything and fucks everything up. Everything that's been fucking growing and growing for a long time, you shut that whole shit down. And possibly even shut down other fucking areas because, you know, some people ain't built or made to take care of certain shit. You know what I'm saying? So you always gotta respect the OGs, man. You don't, like I said, if you don't respect your OGs, you're never gonna learn shit. And then when you do, you're gonna go in there and learn from dudes that don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? Think they know shit, wannabes basically. You know what I'm saying? And the real motherfuckers might be right there across the street from you. You know what I'm saying? So take heed to your OGs, my boy. And like I said, so back to this Eastbound thing, my boy. They grew, money. They grew substantially, you know, over time. 2007, 2008, 2009, these fuckers were deep as fuck to where the hood was putting in mad work, money. They were supposed to getting killed from other neighborhoods. The homies that gave the hood warnings. And back then, we didn't communicate with nobody. Like, we didn't have no communication with in prison. We did what we did, and we didn't listen to nobody. It was just because, like I said, this is street shit. We gangbangers. All this fucking policies and, you know, no red on red shit. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Who else we want to fight with? Outside of fighting with the Southsiders, which, you know, the Southsiders are not like they were back in the days. It's not even. It's not close. They don't even, they have 10% of our 100%. You know what I'm saying? To every fucking 10 norteños or every fucking 20 norteños, there's one Sureño in San Jose. You know what I'm saying? So the whole shit has fucking changed, money. Even back then, like I said, it was really changing. But in 2007 to 2009, 10, a lot of dudes from Eastbound got locked up. A lot of these dudes flipped and turned informant and started telling. And we never had that on the West Side before. You know what I mean? From 1990 to 2002, before we hooked up with these cats, we probably had 2 rats in the hood that went and told and testified and all that kind of shit. 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? In 12 years. You know what I'm saying? But then when we hooked up with Eastbound, we had like fucking 10, 15 heads telling in a small period of time. You know what I'm saying? And that was like half of the time of those 12 years, we had, you know, 10 times more. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just the homies from the East. There's a couple homies from the West and other places. But when certain people start falling off, when you can easily set a trend, you can set a domino, you can easily set a trend or a domino effect type of thing where other people start doing it too, money, and then it just gets out of hand if you don't make corrections ASAP. That's why you gotta know, like I said, you gotta know how to fucking work shit and make shit happen, you know what I mean? And with this Eastbound thing, a lot of homies that got caught up, you know, in 2007 when the hood got greenlighted, there was an option, money. There was, you know, they told the homies from the West Side that if you guys basically dismantle Eastbound and leave them for dead, that they'll get greenlighted and we won't. You know what I mean? As far as the West Side goes, homie, but we weren't going to do that, money. You feel me? We fucking signed a contract, money, in blood. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, you're fucking married to the mob type of shit. Period. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, money, we weren't going to leave the homies from the East for dead, money. If they're going to greenlight them, they greenlight all of us. You know what I'm saying? And we did what we did, money. And a lot of fools, you got members during the green light, at least 50 members left our neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? That they didn't want nothing to do with it. They were scared. They were tripping and all that type of shit. Their loyalty wasn't for the hood. It was more for, you know, other shit. You know what I'm saying? And people got to understand, like, your loyalty always got to be the utmost for the neighborhood. That's where you grew up at. These are all people you grew up with. You can't go somewhere, meet somebody you never fucking met, and then be loyal to them and then start backstabbing your own homeboys. I mean, where's your loyalty and your integrity? You know what I mean? All that type, your honor and shit, your respect for the people around you. You always got to make sure that that's, you know, one of the #1 rules. You know what I'm saying? All of those, that's one rule by itself that you just have to follow in order to lead people and yourself in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, with the Eastbound thing, money, it wasn't until later, money, that we started. It was the next generation of Eastbound. Eastbound been in the mob for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you know, they made their footprint. When I was in saw that in 2007, 8, and 9, there was a lot of vatos coming from the east side. They were just mad complaints about Eastbound and about the mob period, money, and crying about what all these dudes from Eastbound were doing out there, because they had some savages for a little bit. The fucked up thing about it is some of these dudes who are being the biggest savages in the hood end up flipping. You know what I'm saying? And dropping dimes and getting motherfuckers caught up instead of just holding their mug, taking their time, and just do what they got to do. You feel me? But that wasn't the case. But you also got to understand there's a lot of other things that were going on with some of these people that started flipping because they started having problems in prison, and or they had a problem and got removed and they already felt, you know what I mean, fucked over. It wasn't us, it was the people in jail, but then they still took it out on people from their own neighborhood and ended up dropping dimes on everybody. You know what I'm saying? And got people caught up in a lot of shit that happened during the green light. And this was a lot to do with, like I said, with Eastbound, my boy. And don't get me wrong, those fools from the west side, they were killing cats. There was, every year while I was gone, there was 3 Norteños getting killed by the hood. You know what I'm saying? The motherfuckers weren't liking that shit. They weren't feeling that shit. You know what I'm saying? But Southsiders were getting it too. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, it wasn't aimed in just one direction. That shit was aiming at everybody. You know what I'm saying? In any way they want some. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the shit was. You feel me? And that was during that time period. I was locked up during this period, but I heard a lot about a lot of shit that was going on. You know what I mean? So, you know, with that said, like I said, you know, Eastbound became a solid ass mob gang. You know what I'm saying? And they're still there, money. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of heads from Eastbound, G. And they're in that area over there. They're just not like, it's nothing like, the hood ain't nothing like it was, my boy. Put it like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, there's still a gang of heads running around, but it's not that, you know, that crazy like it was back in the 90s. But then again, the enemies and all the haters and all that kind of shit, that shit fucking broke down. Shit has changed because, like I said, back in the days, we had a gang of haters that hated the hood. But after all the sacrifices of everybody in the 90s and the early 2000s, people have had a different opinion about the hood, or watch what they say, or only say it in their house or in the garage or around their own people, because they already know that at some point they're going to have to deal with some type of repercussions or consequences if the word gets out that they're speaking on certain shit. And we ain't going to go look for nobody. We never did. We always wait, and at a certain time in a certain place, it will be the right time and the right place for us, wrong time for them. Wrong place for them, type of shit. You know what I mean? So anyhow, that's the story of Eastbound, money. You know what I'm saying? And how Eastbound became the mob. And believe me, there was mad work put in. A lot of motherfuckers were doing a lot of shit. And that shit got hella strong for a little bit, money. But because of the green light, that, like I said, a lot of heads walked away from Eastbound. Some certain fools flipped. Some of these dudes that flipped, money, you gotta remember, they had that, you know, that gang shit in the money where they were the recruiters, money. They were fucking natural born leaders and shit. But, you know, that wasn't there. They weren't here to be a natural born leader in this gang shit. Maybe something else, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, when it came to time and being backstabbed and fucked over and all that kind of shit, some people, it'll happen to them and they'll flip the script and start telling on everybody. You know what I'm saying? And then some people, we just go deal with their shit and say, fuck it, they backstabbed me, they fucked me. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And we'll deal with that shit. You feel me? But, you know, it don't always work that way. You know what I'm saying? And that's that Eastbound shit, my boy. So with that said, homie, as far as Eastbound goes, money, I want to send mines to all the homies that are still banging Eastbound, that are down with the hood, that got love, you know, that are locked up doing time. To all my people, money, that, you know, that are still there, money, I want to send mines to you. And like I said, hopefully you're living a good life, taking care of your family. Sometimes, like I said, some of you dudes are older. You gotta know when to step back and start living your life, money, before you end up getting washed and wasting your fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Also, I want to send a big shout out as far as the RIP to my boy Smokey, who was a trendsetter, who was a good ass fucking solid fucking MOBSTERO, money, from the Eastbound gang, money, who went to Salida and started up the body over there. Homie, I want to send mine to all the homies from Salida, the 209. And like I said, homie, you know, it's all MOBSTERO love, money, always and respect. Like I said, I'm not active like that no more in the hood. I'm retired, man. I'm an OG. I laid down the foundation for the hood, and you know, it was up to other people to keep the motherfucking ball rolling, money. You know what I'm saying? But it was my time long ago to shut down and change my life, money. And it just, you know, with a bunch of bumps in the road, kind of delayed my process, money. But I'm really deep into my process of changing my life, of getting a lot of things done, money. And one of my ways is my therapy, money, is telling you my stories, you know what I'm saying, of how a lot of shit happened and all that type of shit. But I can't get too much in detail. I can just tell you that, You know, mi vida loca, it was fucking crazy, money. It's been a crazy life, my boy. But I've held steady, money. I dealt with a lot of controversy. I dealt with a lot of backstabbing, haters, you know, defamation of character, money, character assassination, and a lot of other shit, money. But I still hold my motherfucking mug. And like I said, you know, with that said, I'm gonna leave you guys with that, money. I'm gonna hit you guys with the next one, which is gonna be one that's gonna be short, but it's gonna be tough, like, you know what I'm saying? Ratos, thank you for your time. What goes around comes around, money. You have to be ashamed. You're all flamed up and you never done a thing.